Today is Sunday. Let's kind of relax, do a little bit of a monthly reset, talk about the books that I have read this month, books that I want to read by the end of the month, and just do a little bit of a reset. Let's take some accountability for my plans this month. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. Today is Sunday. I felt like we should just sit down, have a little bit of a chatty video today, talk about all the books that I have read this month, and also go through my TBR cart. I have not been utilizing the cart like I intended to do whenever I got it 6 months ago. We're going to do like a little monthly reset. We're going to take accountability for myself for not doing what I wanted to do this year, and that is dwindle down my physical TBR. And I haven't been doing that. And there's no excuse for it. But we're going to go over that. I'm going to do a number generator where it's going to pick some books off of my TBR cart to finish by the end of the month. And I think I might do that for next month as well. I don't know. Leave me some comments below if you like that idea. Before we get into the video, please make sure that you like and subscribe. Always check my description box. I have all of my links to my Patreon, Bingo Books account, and all of my socials, and so much more. Alright, so the first book that I did read in March was Shadowlands by Stacey Marie Brown. This book is the 6th and final book in the Savage Lands series. I said it last month. I'm going to say it again. I am very happy that this series ended. I started out books 1 through 3, maybe even a little bit of book 4. I was enjoying myself. Books weren't that great, but they were addicting enough to where I did want to keep reading them. They were just like some 3 stars. They weren't the best. They weren't the worst. I felt like there was a lot of improvement that needed to be done in the books, but nevertheless, they kept my interest. Towards the end of book 4, and definitely all of book 5, I was not interested anymore. I was done. I was ready for the whole story to end, and then finally we get to book 6, which is the longest book in the series. I was not having a good time. I felt like it was the same washed out story plot that we have been doing for the past 5 books in this series, and I just was kind of checked out. I no longer felt for the characters. I no longer felt for the romance. I didn't even care about the ending. The ending was very predictable. I feel like this series could have been condensed into 3, maybe 4 books if, they wanted to keep a lot of stuff in there, but there is no need for it to be 6 books. The 5th book last month was literally, you start out in one position and then you ended the book in the same position. So you went nowhere. Plot went nowhere, story went nowhere, nothing went nowhere. And then all of a sudden you have book 6 coming out and you're like, okay, it's finally ending. And then you find out that it is twice as long as any of the books in the series. And I was checked out at that point. So I'm so happy it ended. I gave the 6th book a 2-star. It really did not wrap up in a way that made me think, wow, I'm so glad that I read all 5 previous books. Also did nothing to wow me in the whole plot, the story, the world. I mean, everything was done so much in a lot of other dystopian fantasy romances. This was not a unique story, and I feel bad for that because I wanted to love this book, but I ended up just getting rid of all of my books. I sold them. I didn't want them anymore. I was like, this isn't a favorite of mine, and I want to keep series on my shelves or books that I absolutely love. And it's just not one of those. I'm sorry if it's one of your guys' favorite series, but I just feel like it was so lackluster. I felt like there were so many conveniences throughout the whole series that at first it wasn't bad. I mean, it was laughing time. Like I was like, okay, how many explosions are we going to have? How many conveniences are we going to have? And then you get to like 4, 5, and 6 and you're just like, okay, can we have anything here where there is some push and pull? But there really wasn't. So all in all, I gave the series a 3-star overall. The last book a 2-star. I just couldn't do it anymore. The next book that I read was book 2 in the Fortuna Sworn series. I forgot how much I love this book. It is Restless Slumber. It continues on from where book 1 left off, and you're following the nightmare Fortuna Sworn. She is one of the last of her kind. She ends up in a deal with a fae where she has to marry him. And there's a whole lot that goes on. I feel like book 2 really brought out where the book series is going, conflict, not really a whole lot of resolutions, which I'm very happy about because I think there's like 5 or 6 books currently published. I'm really happy that there isn't a whole lot of conveniences, that Fortuna and a lot of the cast of characters that are in here, they deal with a lot, and there's not a lot of, conveniences. There's not a lot of, happy ever after tie-ending things in book 2. I feel like I wait to get to the 3rd book. I definitely gave Restless Slumber 4 stars. I'm really loving the whole atmosphere, and I'm loving the story, and I'm loving the whole love triangle aspect. I can't give you a whole lot because it is book 2. But I feel like if anybody really likes a fantasy romance with gothic paranormal vibes to it, and you don't mind a love triangle, I highly suggest trying this out. It's a really, really good series. I'm really invested at this point. I can't wait to start book 3. Let's see how I feel 4 or 5 books in, if I'm still excited about the series. But so far, I can't wait to continue because it's a new concept. It's not like you have a fae fantasy romance or a shifter paranormal romance. It is dealing with a nightmare, and to learn about what a nightmare is and what their powers are, where she can draw out someone's deepest fear and make them believe it, is very unique. I am really liking that aspect, that the author KJ Sutton has taken like a mythical creature and made it the forefront of the story and didn't go with just the same old fae, elf, or a wolf shifter. I'm so happy for that. I feel like that is unique in itself. So I can't wait to continue on. If anybody wants to, I think this would be a good suggestion if you want something that's more on the lighter side of fantasy, where it's not a high fantasy where you got to remember all these names and all these places. I feel like it's an easy way to kind of just slip into the genre if you haven't ever read it. The next book that I did finish in March was Spark of the Everflame by Penn Cole. I have been hearing this from one of the booktubers that I watch. She has been raving about it. She says that this is one of her favorite fantasy romances of all time. I think she's currently reading book 3 or has already finished book 3 and just awaiting the 4th and final book to come out later this year. But I decided to go ahead and dive into this. So good, you guys. I absolutely love it. It is a unique fantasy romance. I really like our girl doesn't know anything about herself, and we're discovering it as we go. There are 2 types of people in here, where you have like the elites of society that kind of whatever they want. They are similar to gods. They, have magic. They have all of these things. And then you have the lower class, which are like the peasants, the people that are supposed to live in mortal city, and they live in impoverished society. They are hungry, they're starving, they aren't able to get the medicine that they need. And she ends up, I guess she's a healer, so she ends up kind of teaming up with Prince, I believe, and things happen from there. This is a very slow burn romance. There is no spice in here at all. But I have heard the booktuber talk about how in book 3, I think we're finally cresting into the tension being resolved and like the romance going somewhere. So an extremely slow burn that I am here for. This world is unique. The story is unique. I'm really loving the characters. I'm really loving the banter between the male and the female main characters. This is really good. I highly suggest if anybody wants a new fantasy romance. I think she is an indie author, Penn Cole. Oh, she hasn't been picked up or anything. I highly suggest getting on this because I feel like once a lot of people start liking it and reading it, it's going to gain a lot of hype. And I'm definitely here for that because I think it needs the hype. Can't wait to continue on with the 2nd book. I am hoping to get through book 2 and book 3 before the 4th one is released so I can stay up with the series. But this book was really good. I really like it. I can't tell you a whole lot because I will give away some of the biggest plot points in here, but it's good. The next book that I read was my Patreon book club pick for March, and that is Gothicana by Rue Nix. This is a dark academia romance, and it is dark. Really, really is. I did not fully like it. I gave it a 2-star. There was a lot that I missed in here. And I don't say that I missed it. I feel like the author didn't expand upon things. Like, I didn't understand why our female main character had to go to this school. I didn't understand why, there was a student-teacher relationship. I didn't feel the romance. I didn't feel a whole lot of things that were going on in here. I gave this book 2 stars. I am happy I read it because now I know, what the hype is about, why people love it. I can see why there are a lot of people that love this book. I'm just not one of them. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's the writing. I don't know if it was just the story concept. I do want to read more from Runix to kind of see if it's just me and the author. We're just not vibing together. It's not a terrible story, and it's not written terribly either. I just feel like it needed a lot more, and I can't even tell you what more I wanted because it's so hard to explain if you haven't read this. I don't know. I feel like it wasn't fully fleshed out. I feel like it was, here's the girl, she's thrown into this school. Now this guy is like obsessed with her. Why? We don't know why. We don't know why there's a romance between them. We don't know why there's any of this. So I just wasn't connecting. And that's okay, because it definitely probably is me. So I just gave it 2 stars. I am going to keep this beautiful copy because I am happy that I read it. I may revisit it later on and give it another shot and read it again just to see if, now that I kind of know what the story's about, maybe I'll see a lot more of the things that I needed that maybe I missed in my first initial read. So I'm definitely going to reread this maybe like in the fall, see if the vibes, of the fall spooky season helps me out. But I do suggest this if you are a dark academia lover, definitely try this out. And then I ended up reading Blood Gift by Vila Roth. I am so happy, so happy that I am caught up with this series because I know the 8th and final book, which I think is called Blood Feast, is coming out in the next couple of months. I cannot wait. I am so excited to finally wrap up Cassie and Leo's story. I'm so happy to finally find out a lot of answers to questions that we've had along the way. I adored this book. It really brought forth a lot of answers that I really needed, and it brought a lot of plot points to a closure. Going into book 8, I kind of know where we're setting up. I kind of know where the author is going, but I don't know what she's going to do. And I can't tell you anything about book 7, but I can tell you that if you like a dense political high fantasy with some spicy romance, definitely check this out. This whole series, the first one is called Blood Mercy. I devoured it. I have devoured every other book. And this is why I put off reading the 7th book, because now I want book 8, and it's not out yet. I don't think it comes out until May or June. I still have a little bit of time, and I'm desperate to get back into my Hesperine world, back to Leo and Cassia. But this is such a unique story. It is so well put together. There are so many politics and so many moving parts in this series that you can get lost a little bit if you don't take your time reading it. It's very slow in parts. It is a very slow moving progression. I will say that there are quite a lot of people out there that say they don't like this because it is too slow. It is too dense. That is fair. I 100% agree with you. I just like that, so it doesn't bother me, but it may not be kind of your take or what you like in a fantasy romance. So just go in with some caution. And then I finally am caught up on this series, and I read book 2 of Two Ashes and Dust, which is in the Of Shadow and Moonlight series by Luna Laurier. I adore this series. I adore this author. She's so sweet and so kind. I have been spamming her whenever I finished this book. I was in tears, you guys. I was sobbing. I was crying. There was just so much going on. And I am so happy I read this, but I desperately want the next book. And I know she's writing book 2.5 right now. And I already know what it's going to be about, but I can't tell you because that's going to give away. But if you like a new adult paranormal romance that deals with Greek gods, it deals with immortals, it deals with a battle that has been waging for centuries. If you like a reincarnation story and you like things about mates, this story is so unique and so good. I read the special edition that Bookish Box had brought out, and I read it, and then I found out from the author that there's a revised edition out there that she kind of went back, added like 8 more chapters, really fleshed out the characters. I went back and read the first book again, and I gotta say, by far, chef's kiss to the author, because she did an amazing job. She already did a good job. I was hooked from the first version, but now with the revised edition, I feel like it is so much better, and you can tell that her writing has greatly increased. She has gotten so much better in telling her stories. Book 2 was so good. So gut-wrenching. You guys, just so gut-wrenching. I was sobbing. I was crying. If you like paranormal romance and you want like kind of a new adult one and it deals with a lot of different things that you like, pick this up. It is so good. So then I decided to get caught up on some of my in-person book club picks that we have this month. And the first one up that I read was Zodiac Queen Season 1 by Gemma James. This is books 1 through 3 in the Zodiac series. It deals with a guy from each zodiac sign. The way that this story is you have a queen who is supposed to be a virgin. She is supposed to spend 1 month in the month of that sign, and she is supposed to basically be their slave the whole month, but she has to stay a virgin, but that doesn't mean that she can't do anything else, right? So you meet, Liam, who is Aries, and he sets the mood, you guys, he sets the mood. And then you go on to the House of Taurus, I think is the next one, who is Heath. And then you go on to the House of Gemini, I believe, and that is Landon. 3 books. It's under 300 pages, just shy, under 300 pages. I devoured this book. Whenever I say I devoured, like within 24 hours, it was read. I couldn't stop. I absolutely loved it. It's spicy. It has a mystery in there. It has really good plot for what it is. I'm so excited. I was so excited that I immediately wanted to jump into season 2, which is books 4 through 6. But I couldn't because I needed to get caught up on the other ones. I highly suggest 4 stars for this season 1. It's so good. I'm desperate to know how this mystery is going to wrap up. Who's our girl going to choose? What's going to happen? I'm just all here for it. I already know who I want her to choose. But that doesn't mean that that's who she's going to choose. So pretty excited. If you like a very spicy, quick, like a bunch of novellas compiled into one book, definitely check out the Zodiac Queen. It was a book that I really was reluctant to get into, but now I'm just obsessed with it. And the final book that I have finished so far this month was another in-person book club pick, and it's called The Fabric of Souls by K.M. Mornova. I don't remember how the last name is. I'm so sorry. It is available on Kindle Unlimited if you want to go read it. I went into this book knowing nothing. I just knew that someone picked it. We needed to read it, so I said sure. After I finished season 1 and I really wanted to get into season 2 of the Zodiac series, I went ahead and got into The Fabric of Our Souls. And boy, to say that I read this in less than 6 hours is definitely a very true statement, and I wowed myself with that because I went in not knowing anything. It is about 300 pages, so it's not very long. I read it on my Kindle, and as I was flipping through, I was reading the story. Our girl, she struggles with mental illness, so make sure that you check trigger warnings before you go into this book because it does talk about mental illness. It does kind of poke fun at mental illness, but not really in a way that the author is poking fun of it. It's more like the characters themselves that are dealing with the mental illness. They do it with each other. The author did put a note on there that by no means, is this how she feels, but it's just the way the characters are written. There are quite a lot of triggers, so make sure that you read this. But our girl, she is struggling with mental illness. She ends up going to this institute that's called Harlow something, and it's in Montana, I think. She goes there. It's very unorthodox, okay? Like, they run rampant. They get to do whatever they want. They can leave the campus. They can go drive their vehicle. They have male and female roommates, so she is with a male. They let people have sex in the shower. I mean, just very unorthodox. And I'm like, what in the world am I reading? I remember messaging one of the girls and I was like, what on earth is happening? And that's not really what I said, okay? But I can't say what I texted. And I ended up reading it like just almost in one sitting. I found that I really enjoyed it. It took probably about 70 or 80 pages before I was really kind of invested in the story and invested with the characters because I didn't understand what was going on. But then whenever things started clicking, you bring a mystery into it and all of these things start happening. And then of course there is spice in here. I couldn't stop. I was like, I need to know what happens. And then at the ending, it broke me. I was sobbing. I was crying. I was like, why? And it took a turn that I didn't expect it to take, and it really hooked me. So if you're looking for a great KU recommendation, definitely try The Fabric of Our Souls, but definitely check trigger warnings before you read it because I know a lot of people don't like to talk about mental illness or read about it, or there might be even some triggering things with the mental illness. So just make sure that you go into this book with caution. And then finally, the book that I am currently reading is Credence by Penelope Douglas. I am probably halfway through this book currently. It is the last book that I have to read this month because it is my in-person book club pick. And I'm on the fence on how I feel about this book because our girl, she loses her parents and she has no family at all. And all of a sudden she finds out that she has an uncle who lives kind of in the mountains, I think in Colorado maybe or something. And so she goes to live with him. But he's not really her uncle. He's like her step uncle. They do not share blood or anything. They have never even met in their life. She goes to live with him and his two sons. They live in this town, and where they live at, they even live further out of town that's kind of in a seclusion. So whenever winter happens and the snow starts falling, they're going to be snowed in for 3 or 4 months together. And that's all I'm going to say. It is definitely like pushing the boundaries for me because I kind of have the ick, but I'm kind of invested. It's a wild ride. So if you haven't read Credence, definitely check out trigger warnings because I don't know if everybody likes it. I have heard a lot of people say that it's a terrible book. I have heard people say that they love the book. From my experience so far, I'm like 40 or 50% of the way in. It is definitely a hard book to read. And that is because your morality meter is telling you this is wrong, but then you have to keep telling yourself they're not blood relatives. So just keep that in mind. That is where I'm currently at. I am going to be finishing that up in the next day or two. I wanted to kind of just go over the books that I have been reading, how I've been feeling about them. And now I wanted to kind of wrap up the month and get through some of my TBR. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to change positions, put you over by my TBR cart, and I'm going to do a number generator to pick out 3 or 4 books that I want to read by the end of March to kind of spur myself to get back into that. And then maybe do something similar to that for April because I know that I'll have 2 book club picks that I'll have to read and also my Patreon book club pick. So I know there's 3 books that I will have to read in April. But other than that, I think I'm going to do the number generator and pick out the books off of my TBR card. So then that way I can start really getting through those. So let's switch positions. Hello everyone, welcome to my floor and my TBR cart. I did go ahead and kind of stack them together so you can see that I haven't really made much of a dent in my TBR cart. I do have some books back here that are going to be part of my April book club pick, so that's why they're not going to be in this generator. But I have 34 books here that I'm going to pick from. And I've decided that I'm going to do 4 books because I think with it being March 17th, 4 books is very doable for me to finish by the end of the month. Not including that I'm also wanting to read season 2 of the Zodiac series. So there's that. But I went ahead and got a number generator up here on my cell phone. So I'm going to go ahead and show you right here. Can you see that? I don't know if you can. But anyway, I'm going to just go ahead and hit it a couple times. Okay, so right now it's on 18. So what it's going to be is 1 is up here, and we're going to go this way, and then 34 is this one. So let's see the first book that it's going to pick for me to finish by the end of March. And it's book 13. So we have 13, so the Kingmaker. Let me make sure that this is book 1 in that series. I can't remember which one is first. Yeah, the Kingmaker is first. So Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. That is going to be the first book that I am going to try to finish by the end of March. And I'm hoping that I can start getting through some of these books. All right, let's do the next one. It's number 16. All right, so that was 13. So now this is 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, so we have The Dill by L. Kennedy. Again, I haven't even read this book, and I know that I've had it on my shelf for quite a while. So I'm really happy to get to this, see what the Off-Campus series is about, and see if I want to continue with that. All right, so let's try another one. Number 8 is what we're going to be doing. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is book 2 in the Red Queen series. I absolutely loved Red Queen, so I can't wait to continue on with this series. I don't know why I haven't picked it up, but again, I haven't been picking up anything on my cart, so let's just see. Hopefully we can get a bigger number so we get like kind of down here. So the next one is going to be, I'm going to do it again because it's number 6. I want a bigger number. Number 9. Okay, book 33. How about that? And that is going to be The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I've heard a lot of people really like this book. A lot of people do love Lynn Painter altogether. So I can't wait to get into this and see what I think. So those are the 4 books that I'm going to try to get through at the end of March, and then we'll come back to this cart in April. I'm not going to add anything else to it because I do want to clear it out before I add more to it. So I'm really happy. I can't wait to get to a lot of these, to be honest with you. And maybe if I finish up these 4 books, maybe I can start getting other ones off of here. But I'm pretty excited for that. So I hope that you guys liked my video. I'll go over again the 4 books that we are going to be finishing by the end of March. I am determined. So we have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. We have Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. We have The Deal by L. Kennedy. And then lastly, we have The Kingmaker by Kennedy Ryan. So I can't wait to get into these books and then also, try to dwindle my cart down a little bit more. But I hope you guys did like this video. Definitely leave me some comments and let me know what you thought of it. Should I do a number generator for April and pick out some books off of my shelf? Let me know in the comments below. But I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.